Ladies and gentlemen, meet Charles Brennan.
When I opened up this session, I asked you 3 questions. I said, from the customer's point of view, do they see your product somewhat the same? And you said, yeah. Cost always a sensitive issue? Yeah. Customer service, you versus somebody else, could be perceived somewhat the same? Sure. So from your customer's point of view, your product, your cost, your service is viewed as the same. And if you, as a representative of your company, go out and ask the exact same questions that every other salesperson in your territory is asking, not only is the price, product, and service viewed as the same, but so are you. The number one thing the customer buys is you, the relationship.
I really liked his approach. I really like hands-on presentations where there's a lot of interaction, a lot of exercises, not just a speaker that stands and preaches and talking heads type situations. Charlie doesn't do that, and it's fun. He brings fun to the classroom as well, which you don't see very often, and not just by telling jokes, but actually creating an environment that's a little competitive and a little bit challenging, and people enjoy that. And the people that we work with, they're the top 5% graduates of their schools. They're very intelligent people. They like a mental challenge. And I think he certainly brought that about for them.
But before I come back to this list, what I'd like to do is share with you something that's influenced the way I communicate, has now literally influenced nearly 1 million people in the way they communicate, and maybe, just maybe, ladies and gentlemen, may impact you. But I'll take you back a couple years when I was in the process of completing my graduate work in training and development, which is adult education. One of my professors approached me at the end of class, came up to me and said, "Charlie, would you be interested in helping me go through 20 years worth of research on the way people communicate?" Now, folks, you got to imagine my excitement at this opportunity. And I'm starting to think to myself, quickly, I got 2 choices. Option number 1 is I say yes. If I say yes, I clearly suck up. If I suck up, I get a great grade. Right? Of course, there's option number 2, I decline the offer. If I decline the offer, I run the risk of offending the professor. Then I run the risk of taking a hit on the GPA. Bottom line, folks, I sucked up. I said, sure, love to go through 20 years worth of research on the way people communicate. So I'm hoping this professor forgot about it, but a week or so goes by and he comes in with a box. It's one of those boxes with handles. It's got about a foot thick worth of data. And I was a little troubled by this, and I started to go through it because it was quite an ordeal. And I started to read a lot of the research, and the research talked about, how many of us are familiar with the term open and closed-ended probing questions? How many of us have heard that term? Pretty much all of us, right? And I'll share with you, I've been involved in sales now for about 24 years, major part of my life. And when you're in sales, which is pretty much everybody in this room, we get introduced to these topics really early in our development, more so than any other career that's out there. So as I started reading through this information, I'm like, well, I understand this, been there, done that. And I was ready to write up a little executive summary, a little white paper on this, until I came across this one research paper. Of course, it was at the bottom of the pile. But I'm going to ask you to turn over to the next page of the workbook, because the research paper, folks, had what I thought was a very interesting title. The title of the research paper was Dialogue versus Recall-Oriented Recitation. Now I'll admit to you, I didn't have a clue as to what this meant. But it's really piqued my curiosity. So I started to read into the research, and what I found out was a little troubling. Because the research actually suggested, ladies and gentlemen, that open and closed-ended questions are ineffective. Now think about this for a minute. When you're out in the field with your DMs, when you're doing ride withs, what are they basically beat into your heads? You got to ask more open-ended questions, right? I mean, sometimes they may even say this to you. Could you do me a favor? Could you just ask a question, right? So I'm guessing if you're reading this research much like I would read this research, you'd be like, well, wait a minute. Open probes are the foundation of science. This is a cornerstone of communication. And you probably push back a little. Read through the rest of the article with a little bit of a discriminatory look. And that's what I did. However, I really learned something, and that's what I want to share with you. What was interesting was the research went on to say open-ended questions are a given. But they made an analogy that an open-ended question is like selling or communication 101. What the research suggested was if you want to be an advanced communicator, don't worry if your questions are open or closed, but be concerned. Do your questions generate a recital or dialogue response?
If I had to describe the program in 3 succinct words, it would be innovative, exciting, and productive.
Strategic, creative,
thought-provoking,
rewarding,
engaging,
challenging, customer-focused,
exciting.
fun, effective.
The bottom line, it's results-oriented.
Our salespeople right now are excellent salespeople. There's no question about that. What this program will do, however, is be able to elevate even our very best people to even a higher level of performance.
It's going to be something that's going to set us apart from our competitors, and by doing that, not only will we have superior products, but we'll have superior skills when it comes to dealing with the customers day in and day out.
I really feel that this program sets us apart from all of the other reps that are out there from other companies.
For more information on programs, seminars, or keynote presentations, please contact Brennan Sales Institute or the bureau that provided you the CD-ROM.